Here we are, another Monday. This is block 22, a June Mini Madness, and this block is called Swamp Angel. This is a very dynamic block with lots of movement in it, and it's made with the hourglass unit and the half square triangle unit. So for the 3-inch block, your half square triangles, you will need 2 squares, 1 7/8 inch of your fabric, of your main fabric, and 2 1 7/8 inch squares of your background fabric, and you'll cut those in half diagonally for triangles. For your quarter square triangles, you will need 2 3/4 inch squares. You'll need 2 of your main fabric and 2 of your background fabric, and then you'll also need a 1 1/2 inch square of your background fabric. For this 6-inch block, these units will be 2 7/8 inch, and the half square triangle units will be 3 1/4 inches. And your background square will be 2 1/2 inches. That is a lot to blurt out. So anyway, you'll find the written instructions in a few days on my blog. So we're going to start out by just sewing our half square triangle units together. Next we're going to sew our 1/4 inch square triangle units, and I'm going to sew those the traditional way this time. I'm going to cut my triangles in half, my squares in half to make triangles, and we'll just go through doing them just the traditional method without the drawing of lines, etc. Okay, so we're just going to start out like we're sewing half square triangles. Okay, once you have these all sewn, then you can cut them in half diagonally. That's wanting to shift. Got to be careful. And then, you see you cannot sew these two together like this. You need to sew this side. You'll see. I'll show you in a minute. Just cut them all here. Make sure you really hold those down firmly while you're cutting, because it's wanting to swivel on me. All right. So you've got two sets of squares. You've got the righties and the lefties here. So in order to get your hourglass unit, you need to sew the same sides together. So you can't just sew cut one triangle in half and do it that way, because it just won't work. So you want to line these up. Make sure that seam is nested well, and you don't want to pull too hard on these because they are on the bias, so you want to be kind of gentle with them. Hopefully this is all making sense to you. All right, so we've got them all sewn together. And now we're going to press them and trim off the edges. Trim off those dog ears. So, and you can see these, I did not do any trimming up other than cutting off the dog ears, so I wanted to show you how they measure up. So it should be to the 3/4 mark there. And so you can see that's pretty darn close. Pretty darn close. So let's check them all. Some of them look a little wonky, but I think once they're sewn into the block, they'll be okay. As you can see, they're really hard to... So this one has definitely got some trimming that needs to happen here. And on this little ruler, I have on the back of it some clear, sticky stuff on there that's like sandpaper-ish. It's nice. I like this particular kind because it's clear and you can see through it. Because these little pieces, you need to be able to see where you're at. So that one is better. Let's see how this one looks. So it's a little time consuming, but it does pay to be a little finicky on these blocks because it does make them come out better. So yeah, this is another one that needs a little, that side's okay, but it looks like I have some extra on this side. So you can see, when you're getting this small, that little bit of extra makes a big difference when you're sewing things together. So it's just nice to clean it up a bit. So, and that one looks good. So we are ready to assemble this block. Your 1/4 square triangles are going to go with the background triangles toward the center of the block. And if you put background triangles here, you'd have another Ohio star block. But we are doing 1/2 square triangles on the outside, and you can see what a great dynamic look that is. You have all this movement going on. Almost looks like circles. So let's sew those together. So we have triangles. So we're going to match our triangles at the corners here. match these triangles at the bottom. Oh, that looks nice. I got 2 more triangles. Now, because this seam went that way and this seam goes this way, it's a little, you just got to sit them on top of each other there. And sew them down. Not much room to maneuver when you're using these little tiny squares. But it also doesn't take long to sew a seam, so they're as good with it. So we got this here and match these up here. Sew these rows together. We're going to press toward the center and the outside triangles on this. So yeah, see, those match up pretty darn good. So you see we've got these points to all match up here, plus the outside corners. So just want to take it slow, pin if you like. Get everything matched up. All right, looking good there. Turn it over and the same thing. We're going to match this up, match these seams up. Looks like I'm a little wonky here, so I'm going to just compensate for that. Match these up. Whoops. All right. Match these up. That's a little wonky there too. And get the final one. So sometimes you have to compensate a little. You can see this was a little short, this was a little long. So I met where the corners meet on that, and it looks pretty good. So that is Swamp Angel, and that's block 22. We're on our way, heading toward the finish line. The pieces are getting smaller, but you can do it. Just keep with me. Thanks, and I'll see you tomorrow.